Do another Overwatch comparison. Of course, I did the whole thing of Sakura versus Sword Soul, the entire Overwatch universe, but I'm not really counting that as a part of this series because it's not really a part. So we already did Could Bill Cipher defeat Dragon Ball, which we did that already. We already did Pain versus the Avengers and Alita versus Sonic. So if any of you guys want to see that, it's in the Versus Battle playlist. But this is one of the most infamous death battles, probably besides Goku versus Superman. You know, well, they picked whoever was the more popular. Again, that was also the same thing with Goku versus Superman. I'll also do that one too, because Goku versus Superman, it really depends on what Superman you're talking about, okay? Okay, but we'll get to that argument later. So, who would really win in a battle? So, problem is, Tracer doesn't really have many feats outside of the cinematic trailers because Overwatch 2 is not out yet. Again, if I'll update this when Overwatch 2 comes out because there will probably be much better feats in Overwatch 2 to properly justify it. And we'll also start. Let's first talk about the small build attack potency. See regularly spout of Genji, and it can affect many heavily armored characters, such as Winston and Junkrat in the game. But of course, that's a game mechanic, here. But but the big gimmick here is that, her, yeah, she was also hypersonic, basically dodge missiles, was also able to. It also has very fast reaction speed. Where with the Widowmaker trailer, where she can go where she has very high reaction speed. But again, she was just using her time powers, and that's really bad, things here. But it seems that the real truth is that first of all, her Chrono Accelerator, the thing that makes do all that zip zoop stuff, does take time to recharge, and can be damaged. And basically, if any character tries to fight her and can easily figure out that's her weakness, they would win. That's her. Unlike the other battles, none of the characters have any real significant big weaknesses other characters can exploit. And no, I'm not gonna talk about, oh yeah, Goku's gonna use Kryptonite, because Goku wouldn't do that. Okay, that's out of character. But Scout would probably do that because that's like her big weakness, and she would be able to be beaten easily because it takes time to recharge, and so it'd be damaged. She'll phase out of corporal existence, and also her weapons are tied to it. So that's the big problem, and that School Attack completely ignored that. Like, her weapons are tied to the thing, her tied to it. Okay, they're tied to the accelerator. So basically, like that, it is there. She has very high stamina. She can fight for hours and heat a battle of Omnics and other bad people. Basically, see small building level. But then we're gonna go to Scout's features. This is all taken from Versus Battle Wiki. Both characters are on the same level, but Scout is wall level. He knocked out Soldier in one row. That's a wall level feat, damaging robots and tanks. Small building level can utilize the Bat Saber. But this is with optional equipment, so Chaser actually could beat Scout if we're just using attack potency, because if we're just using base equipment, Scout would actually lose in this battle because Scout is wall level. Okay, Scout is wall level and Tracer is small building level. Okay, and then we have speed. Speed is, I think, the most important thing. Both characters are supersonic, but if Scout goes on Bonk, he's massively hypersonic, basically, and Tracer might not survive Bonk because Bonk is overpowered. It's very, very overpowered, and and then basically, but the thing is, Scout is wall level. Scout is wall level. So it isn't really based off of popularity then, because Scout is wall level. So, and you're using most of Scout's feats are mostly wall level feats, can survive the soldier rockets, but he was heavily hospitalized, even though Tracer was able to spar with Genji, who, and able to, survive much better than Scout can. And this is like, she was able, she is one of the least double, but she's still able to withstand, and has wrestled with the likes of Widowmaker. So basically, Scout was heavily hospitalized by a rocket launcher, but Tracer is able to survive much longer against other weapons. But the thing is, this battle could go either way. How can it go either way? Even though Scout is wall level, is because she has very low durability. She has not very good durability. Her Chrono Accelerator can run out pretty quickly, and if Scout can outlast that, because the weapons are not that strong, Scout can basically, if Scout knows the weakness, basically Scout could win. But most of the time, considering that Scout is wall level, basically, he was heavily hospitalized by soldiers' rockets and meet the Scout. Basically, his stamina is not that well, compared to Tracer, can fight on hours, but Scout is basically just a standard superhuman. So yeah, basically the statistics here, unless he's on bonk, which is probably not going to happen, basically Tracer's going to win like every other time then. Basically. And I already mentioned that in the earlier part of the video, that Scout could lose. Scout could win if he, exploits the, if he can outlast and Tracer runs out of the thing and he has to but thing is, Scout is just average intelligence. He's not really that smart compared to Tracer. What's according to the same site, Versus Battle Wiki, which is one of the most. See, they even have a massive paragraph here. She is one of the most famous. They don't really say her intelligence is high or anything, but her intelligence is higher than. But of course, she has to make sure the thing doesn't run out. So that would be it there. Everyone's blood water. Yeah, Scout would lose. Scout would be toast essentially in this entire battle. So I think a much more better matchup would probably be like John Wick or Alita or someone around her level, because Scout is wall level. I think you can't really get around that. Tracer is small building level and Scout is wall level. Okay, you can't really get around that. It's something that TF2 fans are going to have to accept. It's kind of like Saitama fanboys. Them again. We have to bring up those guys again. But Saitama fanboys will never give up on saying that Goku can be beaten by Saitama, even though we all know Saitama is weaker than Goku. Okay, would lose to Goku. He would lose to Goku because he doesn't have the feats. And if we go to, and if Overwatch 2 has better feats for Tracer, that's gonna be pretty bad for Scout. Even with that, because Tracer was able to regularly spar with Genji. And Genji is pretty powerful in the Overwatch universe. He is a cyborg with very fast reflexes, very fast movement speed. He is far, stronger. If Tracer can spar with Genji, and Genji would probably beat Scout easy. So, and he's able to damage heavy armor, and Scout doesn't really have any armor at all, and he's able to damage armored characters, in the game. Basically, he was able to damage, and many armored opponents, and Scout the struggles basically with, fighting, struggles with fighting wall over robots basically when Tracer is able. And the worst thing is stamina. Stamina is probably the worst thing for because Tracer has higher stamina than Scout. Scout is a standard superhuman stamina. Yes, if he has the drink and he can use Bonk, he would probably be able to. It would kind of be like, Vegeta versus Saudi Hedgehog. You know, that battle. That stupid battle. Well, Tracer would be able to outlast Bonk, basically there. Wouldn't be surprised at all because there. And another thing is, Scout is pretty, impulsive. Basically, he basically has a lot of ego, similar to several other characters we talked about, like Bill Cipher, and several of the Avengers have some ego as well. You know, I think that will probably be the end. So sorry, TF2 fans, Tracer would actually win, not because he's more popular, because the statistics basically. Because if it, even using the optional equipment. If he's using optional equipment, he might win, like the Bat Saber and the Kappa. But we're talking about base standard equipment. This is base standard equipment. Not extra equipment. This is not extra optional equipment. This is just his standard equipment. I don't really, for example, I said in the Pain battle, Pain versus Avengers, Pain would win without any prep time, with the Avengers not having any prep time. But the Avengers would win if the Avengers had prep time. So, kind of like that, because the Avengers would know how Pain works, so they would beat him. If Scout had prep time, he would probably win, but this is without any prep time. Scout would probably lose 90% of the time. Okay? 90% of the time, he would probably lose. So I don't know what Animation Rewind was getting off with his battle, Dale. I think he was just trying to do it to appease the TF2 fans, basically, Dale, because according to the statistics from Versus Battle Wiki, which I use for my other battles like Bill Cipher, versus Dragon Ball, stuff like that, So yeah, this is I think, yeah, Scout should just go scale against other war level characters, okay? Scout is, war level, basically, yeah. But we already said that, so Tracer would basically win against Scout. And there's no bias either, no biases here. This the truth here. It's basically, Scout is a war level character, and basically he can affect heavily armored characters like Junkrat, Winston, and Genji, which are all small building level. Winston, we can use Winston for scaling. If he's able to damage Winston, who was able to beat up Doomfist, who easily defeated Genji and Tracer, who easily basically bodied them, you can basically see that Doomfist would destroy Scout, basically, and probably the entire TF2 universe, basically. Here, Tracer is already hypersonic with her. And let's not forget about her, hacks, her, how she can basically use recall to heal herself. So basically, she can use recall to negate everything that Scout does. So yep, there we go. So actually, Death Battle was right, basically. But one thing they got wrong, but Tracer will not fall in love with Scout because she is a lesbian. Goodbye.